Hello, hello, and welcome back, everyone, to, I'm going to say, this episode, this amazing interview in the Get Good at Business Facebook group. Today, we are highlighting Alex Aanderud, and he is going to be sharing some amazing insights with us about him and his business. But before we dive into that, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you today. My name is Taylor Proctor, and I am your Get Good at Business coach, specifically helping business owners get good at business through the I-Move method, which stands for intuition, marketing, operations, velocity, and execution. And today, as we are interviewing Alex, we will be asking questions all around those 5 categories, because those are the 5 categories that I have found help you get good at business the fastest, no matter where you are at in your business journey. So before we dive in with Alex today, I am so excited to read you a little bit of information about him, and then we'll get to our questions. So Alex is a distinguished expert in leadership, communication, and human behavior, renowned for training top coaching firms and organizations globally. Merging his engineering background with expertise in psychology and behavioral analysis, he applies systems thinking to enhance organizational human capital. Specializing in psychometric assessments, Alex boosts team dynamics, retention, and profitability, fostering significant growth and rapid expansion. His mission centers on fostering authentic leadership, tailored communication, and maximizing success potential. Alex, we are so excited to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited and looking forward to this.
Awesome. Well, in that case, let's dive in. I would love to understand and know what inspired you to merge an engineering background with psychology and behavior analysis. And specifically, how has that unique combination really shaped your approach to leadership and organizational development?
It's a long story, make it very short. Is when I was a kid, I was told I'd never graduate. I was having 40 to 50 seizures a day and mood problems. And so the vice principal was like, "You're not making it." And I became an engineer, and it was awesome. And while I was an engineer, I got a performance evaluation that says does not meet expectations. I walked in my boss's office, I slammed him. "What is this shit?" He's like, "You can't talk to me that way." I go, "Why not? You are the one who gave this to me." The challenge was I was out producing everyone on the team, but I wasn't working with anyone on the team. I didn't understand how to communicate with people. I took a class, I learned how to communicate, got better, started flying me around the country because I could talk to anyone, make anything happen. I became a certified quit smoking specialist, and I was working in the Navy flight base, Patuxent Urban Naval Air Station in Maryland. And a woman came in to see me to stop smoking. And I was doing both jobs at the same time. And very first client wasn't successful. And she went away, found out the reason why is because her 6-year-old had been killed by a stray bullet in Baltimore. And then tears pouring down her face. I did mental and emotional release. I helped her with therapy work. And after an hour and a half, she was laughing and telling me stories about Isabel. She gave me a big hug and said, "Thank you for giving me my memories back." And I walked away from engineering and went into therapy and went broke because I was everyone who needed it, but they couldn't always afford it. And at some point, someone in the real estate world, I helped their kid, and they said, "Can you come help my 30 other kids?" And then it was like, this is interesting. So I just started teaching mindset, psychology, communication, this kind of stuff. And when my buddy gave me a psychometric assessment, he went down to Eric Thomas down in Jamaica, came back. That assessment gave me numbers to everything that I could do. So now all of a sudden I had numbers for people, and it became dangerous. And that's how I integrated the two, was doing the therapy work. Someone gave me numbers, and all of a sudden the two worlds came together.
That's fascinating. Well, there's a lot of things to unpack there. It was a very quick story. I want to dive in for just a quick second into, you mentioned, was it over 50 seizures a day? Like, how were you able to overcome that?
As a kid, physically and sexually abused, lots of trauma, lots of issues, ADD, OCD, bipolar, alphabet soup, you give it to me. I had pills for it. And they started giving me pills to take side effects for the pills. So like I'd have rage, so they gave me Remeron to help with this. And all that. Remeron is what made me gain all the weight. And with the weight gain, the lack of exercise, and the chemical cocktail I had, it was causing seizures. And they couldn't figure out what was going on because they couldn't find any lesions or anything. Lo and behold, there was a guy who flew in, alternative practitioner from overseas, who just happened to start working in an Oregon clinic, and I got to see, took me off of my meds, and my seizures stopped.
Oh, wow.
And so I've been able to use alternative methodologies my entire life to be able to heal myself and to be able to grow. Bipolar disorder, was able to get off of medicines and started working with anxiety. And even medical doctors were prescribing people to come see me to get them off of anxiety and depressant medication.
That is
And
fascinating. And
well,
so now that plays into what you do every day.
well, more than I've explained, because what I do is 10% of every dollar that comes in. I'm actually started a nonprofit this year. It's been my goal for the last 10 years, but this year I actually created the EIN. I'm in the process of getting the nonprofit status, but it's 10% of my revenue goes to scholarships to mitigate mental and emotional trauma. And the idea is $2.1 million, $1 million going to scholarships for people to get access to alternative and complementary therapies, $600,000 to help people who want to get into that work start a business with business coaching like yours to be able to help them really build a thriving business. So they'd be able to come get a scholarship to go see you to help them get their business up and running and really thriving. And then $500,000 to do community programs in the schools as well as community advocacy. So this is like that long-term vision of what I'm trying to build. And I'm doing it through business consulting, business leadership development, that kind of stuff, basically helping people get seen. That's what I do all day, every day, is I help leaders understand who's in front of them and how do you need to show up so that they can thrive.
I love that. And congratulations on getting that long-term vision up and off the ground. That's amazing.
I'm excited. I was actually at a mastermind out in Montana, customer journey with George Bryant. Absolutely amazing mind on like the customer journey and how to guide people through it. And I met somebody there, his name's Josh, and he said, you know what, I really love your vision. I'm a retired attorney. I want to help get you the nonprofit status. So you get the EIN, I'll get you the nonprofit. And so it's like, okay, time to move. And so dreams sometimes just start moving. If you just follow your intuition and just start listening to that, sometimes that'll help lead you in the right direction, even if it doesn't make a lot of logical sense, but it'll help guide you and make sure you're making the right decisions.
Yes, I love it. So speaking of like intuition and intuitive insights, how do you balance that, the psychometric numbers and the data-driven engineering piece with intuitive insights when it comes to advising these organizations and individuals that you do, specifically on intuition for team dynamics and leadership? Like, how do you balance all of that?
It's always been intuition. It's always been intuition. When someone gave me numbers, I see patterns. And what happened was I learned from the intuition. I went, oh, here's where it is, but I could see the pattern. So now I've got the numbers to back it up. And then I started teaching other people how to look at the numbers and they could create my intuition. And so the thing is, my intuition is really, really good. And I'm able to cold read. I can feel other people's emotions. I can hear other people. Like I've just got this intuitive sense that I can tap in and feel things. And so I can tell you what happened. I can walk into any bar, shake someone's hand and tell you who they are. But now I've got numbers so I can teach other people how to do it. Once I got the numbers, 10,000 profiles. I have looked at over 10,000 profiles. And as I did that, now I started to look at behavior and mannerisms. So now I can link what I'm physically seeing with the numbers. After I've linked the numbers with the behavior, now I can go the other direction. So now I can go from, oh, I can see you. I know how to get back here. So they're all interconnected. The intuition is just you processing a lot of information really quickly that your conscious brain isn't messing up. Censored. The conscious brain is often getting in the way because of limiting beliefs, negative emotions, filters that aren't serving you. And your intuition is a way to bypass that. But your intuition is also tied to habits and beliefs. And so your intuition is only as good as the construct of reality you've created. And so as you move and adapt your construct of reality, you can rely more on intuition. And as you trust your intuition, you can adapt and be able to see the numbers the way you need to see them.
I love that. And I've never heard it explained so clearly. Like, I really appreciate that because it really is that. And I think especially when we look at leading teams and those types of things as leaders, it's about trusting your intuition, but then having the support and the systems to expand it even further so that your team can expand and grow and you can support them in the ways that you need to. So absolutely love that.
There's actually a TEDx that was done in April this last year. Dr. Lisa Young, she was a medical director in the Bronx during the pandemic and walked away to go do coaching, consulting work. And she did her talk. It says, live your truth. And it's like the best way to make decisions is through intuition and learning listen to that voice. And I thought it was incredibly powerful TEDx. It was a really cool, really well done. It was story-based. And so it's very emotional too. So it was incredible.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. Thank you. Would you mind repeating it one more time for everybody that's watching?
Yeah, it's Lisa Young, Yeung, MD, Lisa Young, MD. And it was How to Make Your Best Decisions. It's a TEDx talk, TEDx Wilmington.
Perfect. Thank you. So given the unique nature of your consultancy, and we've been talking about intuition and the psychometrics and things like that, how have you marketed your company and what do you use to effectively communicate the value of your company, which is Human Spectrums Consulting? How do you use marketing to really communicate that value to your respective clients?
I've gotten much better at it. I need to start with the humor that started it all is this is my referral base. You need to talk to Alex. What does he do? I don't know. It's weird, but it works. You should talk. And then a phone call. Hi, Sam said I should talk to you. Awesome. What's going on? I don't know. She said you're weird, but you work. I'm like, what specifically am I helping you with? Because I've broad range here. So help me out, guys.
Right.
The marketing, honestly, what ended up happening is when people gave me the psychometric assessments, I understood them at a level that the people who were the experts didn't. And I quickly became known as the DISC guy. And it wasn't, I'm not a big fan of DISC, but I am the DISC guy. And it's something that at some point I may need to rebrand. But the people know me as this guy because it's like, I'd sit, I have a conversation with these people. It's like, oh, I'm a DISC expert. And 5 minutes later, they're like, I don't know DISC. So I actually created the brand, You Don't Know DISC, and ran with it. And so it kind of became a running joke with me. But what I did from a marketing perspective that worked really effectively was pour into people, provide value. I taught people they're not broken. I worked with this person. They're in the real estate world. A lot of my clients are in real estate. And she was not very social, didn't like talking to people, didn't like helping people, and didn't really want to help people. It was really all about what's in it for me. And most people in the service industry kind of laugh and go, well, she's screwed. I go, no. I taught her to tell people, I care about your referral. So I'm going to treat you better than all the people who are lying and saying it's about you. And I taught her that the better you take care of your clients, the more referrals you're going to get. And all of a sudden, she started providing exceptional customer service. She couldn't follow a script because she didn't want to talk. So I taught her how to ask better questions and what to listen for. All of a sudden, she was very successful. There was nothing wrong with her personality. The environment she constructed and the leaders weren't leading her the right way.
Got it.
You're not broken. We just need to fix the situation around you.
I love that. And so do you have like a methodology that you use with like the DISC and the assessments? And is that how you've been able to find a common marketing message? I ask because I have a wide variety that I help with. And for years it was like, well, I can help you in this area or this area. And it was really hard to hone it in. And then it was like, ultimately, I help you get good at business and I can do it through this methodology. And as soon as I got that down and stopped trying to niche it into products and like, this is the methodology, everything took off in my messaging. So it sounds like you have something kind of similar.
Yeah. And Taylor, I mean, when I look at what you do, your ability to be able to look at a business and identify which aspect of the structure, technical or intuitive, as far as which movement pieces need to be put in place, that is a unique skill. And so when you're sitting, you're having a conversation, you're talking with businesses, like when you come out and you have the conversation, the unique selling proposition, it's like, I get your business to move. That's what you said. You know, I help people grow their business. Okay, but what makes you different than this person, this person, this person? What I do works. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So that language would work just as well for you as it did for me, because here's what I did that really worked well with my marketing is, you know, it inside and out. Not you, but like I'm talking with the person, I'm like, you know it inside and out. So why did this person not work? I can tell you. Why did this person not work? I can tell you. Why did they leave? I can tell you. What do you need to say? I can tell you. And I just demonstrated enough that the information that's out there is accurate-ish, but it's not. But if you can't account for why the variables don't work, I can tell you why. It's a statistical variance. Here's the difference. And these are the things that cause the issue. And they're like, oh. For me, it's not a big deal. It's a slight tweak. But like, for instance, in values, which is one of the 3 assessments I use, aesthetic is about things feeling nice. It's about a feeling of harmony. And people who have a high aesthetic love things to look beautiful. And it's like, yeah, but this person's test isn't accurate. They have a high aesthetic, but their desk is always a mess. I said, right, they probably grew up in that. It's probably what makes them feel safe is being in a mess. And they probably went to one person's house that was overly abusive and a clean, neat freak, and the other one where it was a mess and they always felt safe there. And so for them, that mess and clutter is actually what makes them feel harmonious and it feels good. And that's the high aesthetic, is they're looking for the feeling, not the representation of it being clean. Clean is good for most people. It feels good for most people. But there's some people who may have baggage that triggers that. And we had a conversation. It's like, oh yeah, my dad was ... And my mom, oh my God. And they just relaxed in, but their mom was a mess. But that's what made them comfortable. So when you can explain the variance, and so for me, the marketing message is people aren't broken. When you find a cause people can believe in, just do it. Not just with shoes, just do it, right? It's like, you've got to find that message that people can believe in. And your tool is just one of the many tools you show them and share with them. And that I provide value in my business here, but my message is consistent if you're with me or not. And I'm going to give you that value over here. You're not broken. Okay, here, take this for free. Go find it. Here's how you do it. Go do it. Like, I don't care. This is the message I care about. And my business helps me do that, but you can do it all these different ways.
I love it. Amazing. So there's a lot of growth that has happened, and you're even talking about like ground floor for getting things going with a nonprofit. And you mentioned some large numbers and percentages going towards the nonprofit. So what operational practices have you implemented in Human Spectrum Consulting to really support and enhance your rapid growth and the expansion, while also maintaining your own authentic voice, authentic leadership, and the day-to-day operations?
So when I worked as an engineer for Boeing, one of the things that we had was we had asset management models for how to manage all of our equipment. Motors can only crank so many times before they break. You've got to know, okay, what's the replacement cycle? What's the life cycle? How does this all work? When I got into this business, I revamped the asset management model and created my intangible asset management model that looks at people, communication, culture, and trust. So putting clearly defined roles, responsibility, accountability. What is the output hierarchy? Who does what, and how does it feed the other pieces of it? What are the standards? What are the personality styles you want in each different position, and what are the gaps? Intentionally putting the damage into the system, because the damage is going to be there, but I'm going to make sure that I bring the right damage in the right places so that the weaknesses are balanced. And so you've got a lot of people don't think, they're like, no, I'm going to design it to be perfect. I go, then it will break. I design broken because I know what those breaks are and how to mitigate them. And then when there's other things that come in, you can address it, but you got to account for the human aspect in everything you do. And so a lot of the systems and stuff, I'm doing everything. But one of the quickest games that I played was what hat am I wearing? So I've got a role that's the CFO, and I've got a role that's the CEO, and I've got a role that is the mechanic. And it's like, okay, which one am I doing today? And the role that's the janitor. Okay, right now I'm the janitor. That's what I'm doing. And I quickly work to replace some of those positions. And so that's kind of like how I build some of these systems. I've gone to the extreme, and I kind of stopped at one point because I started going down, because I actually used to manage a lot of Boeing operations and principles, like the process procedure documents and all that stuff. So I have like a whole document numbering system. Don't do that. Simplest way to get your processes in place from my perspective is write down what you're doing. Just write it down, and then start to streamline it and write the process as you need it. So if something comes up, you don't have a process for it, write a process. Make it as detailed as you need to be able to do it. If you can't follow it, make it less detailed. If you can't follow it, or it doesn't produce the results, let me rephrase. If you can't follow it, make it less detailed. And if you're not getting the result, make it more detailed. And then that tells you what level of detail you need for your process. And then that goes forward, and that's how you build it.
Amazing. And I would add to that too. So there's a cool tool called Tango, which it has a Chrome extension where it'll track and screenshot your clicks. And so if you're building out a standard operating procedure that has multiple levels and those details, and you're like trying to remember them all the time and wear that hat, and then like, okay, now I got a whole other process with a different hat. Something like that is great. And it's actually a free resource to help build out SOPs to then be able to go in and say, oh, wow, this was way overcomplicated. I could take out this, I could take out this. Or as you mentioned, saying, oh, well, actually, there's a whole part here that I didn't do, and that's why this isn't working. So great insights into building operational practices and a potential tool.
Yeah, Loom, record the video and send it off to somebody to write it for you. I did Fiverr. I did that for some of it. Nice. I'm going to look up Tango because you would use that all the time. So
all the time. And it does it literally step by step with picture screenshots. So you don't have to outsource it.
Oh, that is awesome.
Great tool. All right. So, what strategies do you recommend for organizations that are going through this rapid growth and expansion? Like, what strategies do you have for them for maintaining that leadership, that communication, and that intuition? Because I do think that it can go really far one way or the other, right? You have these leaders who are growing these rapid growth organizations, and they may go full intuition, and then it doesn't quite have the structural backing to support it. Or the other way around, it's got so much structural backing that it's actually could be hindering their growth because they're not tapping into the intuition to actually expand. So I would love to know if you have any strategies to help kind of come into the center with that.
It's interesting because as I think about it, like I have to step in. For me, they're not different. For a lot of people, they're different. So I think first piece is a mindset shift for a lot of the businesses is to look at intuition as one of the process step tools.
I love that.
So for me, like you're like, okay, so what's the process? I'm like, the process is I look at the data, I look at the figures, I check the intuition, I double check the data, and then I make a decision. Intuition is part of my process. And so if you want to find how do you not go to one extreme or the other is to eliminate the dichotomy, to resolve the dichotomy so that they're not opposites or they're not energies acting against each other, but instead they're working together to create a better result.
So good. I love that. Great answer.
Strategy perspective, other aspects is making sure that you have a committee of individuals. And if you don't have a committee, get onto Chat GPT and tell them I have a CEO and tell them the CEO's background, personality style, their beliefs. I've got a CEO, tell them. I've got the CMO, tell them, and tell Chat who all these people are, and then have board meetings and sit and have conversations with them as a board meeting and go, okay, I'm having a board meeting. Please invite Paul, Sam, Jerryton. And then they all come in and you ask questions and they're allowed to respond. And so you get to see what everybody is, but you can get other people's perspectives. I've got one guy who is highly science-based neurobiologist who doesn't believe in energy. How that works, I have no idea, but apparently I created a guy. And so then I get this person who wants to talk all about facts, data, numbers, and gets really into the details. And when I say intuition, he says intuition, and he goes off into some science thing. And I'm like, okay, so, but it gives me a chance to check it just to see, is there anything that I'm wrong with or need to double check or validate?
That's amazing. That's such a great tip. So last question here. Do you have some executional tips for organizations who are looking to integrate? You have the core values of integrative management and adaptive leadership. So do you have any executional tips for organizations looking to integrate those into their day-to-day?
Know your people. Know your people. That's the biggest piece. Any organization that is interested in having a portal set up where they can get free assessments for their teams to be able to understand their people, talk to me, and I will help make that happen. But the bottom line is that you put so much time into researching your motors, researching which desk you're going to buy, and you look at a resume to hire your people. You do not spend enough time invested in understanding the psychology, the mindset, the motivation, and the behaviors of your people, because if you did, your business would be flourishing.
Yes. I feel like you and I speak very similar languages, and I love it. So I think that that's a really good segue into understanding your people. Also kind of starts with understanding yourself. And you have a free resource for our viewers, our listeners today, which is your personality blueprint. So tell us a little bit more about that and where people can go to take advantage of this amazing opportunity to get an assessment with you.
So if you go to youdon'tknowjust.com/free ADV, ADV stands for the Advanced Insight Assessment. Personality Blueprint is through a company called Intermetrics, which I'm contracted with, and it runs 3 different psychologies: DISC, which looks at behavioral tendencies; values, which is intrinsic motivators; and an attribute index, which is an axiology report, which looks at how people filter information. The idea is the more you understand who you are, the more successful you can be. In the early 2000s, there was a study commissioned called the Genius Study. What they found is that the most successful people had self-awareness. They knew what their strengths and their weaknesses were, and authenticity. They created an environment. So earlier in the conversation, I talked about the woman who was not a people person. Right. I changed the environment, but I knew that because like I know me, But when I start to put a language to me, I have more ability to have influence and control over my environment because now I have a language to it. So the personality blueprint gives you a language, gives you a set of insight and information, along with it actually has, once you get the report, it has strategic steps for implementation, including one page that says how others should communicate with you. You can print that out and just hand it to people and go, talk to me this way. And it works really effectively.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for being willing to be so open and candid with us and share about your business and how you use intuition, marketing, operations, specific strategies, and execution to really transform not only your business, but the businesses of your clients. So I really appreciate, again, your time today. And thank you so much. For those that are watching, you can get Alex's information in the description of this video, as well as in the comments and notes below. And be sure to stay tuned. We will have more interviews with other business experts throughout the week and in the coming months. So stay tuned in the Get Good at Business Facebook group. Thank you again so much. I'm your host, Taylor Proctor, and we will chat soon.